What's up, guys? So, welcome to the live stream, the impromptu live stream that I'm doing from here on out to get these videos out faster. And today we're going to answer a question that I got from one of the boys. High level judo starting at 21. So let me just post this question in front on the screen. So that you guys can check it out. Okay, so this is actually my second shot at this. I did this during the week. I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday, but the computer crashed. So that was that. So I got some insight on this, and that's why for Rob here, his name is Rob, sent me this message on IG. Oh, just for future reference, guys, if you send me a question, send it in one of the videos. Any video, like I'm gonna see it right in the description box, like on my channel. Like in the comment section, and that's where I am for the most part now, because going back and forth between IG, Facebook, whatever else, it gets a little bit time consuming. So now I'm focusing all my attention on YouTube. That's it, right? Like even if you guys send me emails and stuff like that, it's the thing is I might forget because I don't check it as often, or I'll see it, but then I'll forget about it kind of thing. Like I don't mean to do that, but it just sort of happens, right? So the best way to really get me to answer your question is to post it in the comment section in one of the videos, right? It could be any video. Probably the most recent one would be ideal, I believe. But regardless, it does pop up. So this question here is from Rob, and it's a great question. And there's a lot to unpack here. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I told Rob I was going to do it. So here I am doing it for the second time. Last time computer crash. I'll have to fix that soon enough, so that it doesn't crash when I'm doing like a podcast with somebody. Like when I'm alone like this, it's fine, right? No big deal. But okay, so let's get into it. Hi, sorry for take your time. You see, I really appreciate that. When somebody writes me a long question or email, it does take up all my time, right? Time is basically life, and so once you run out of time, you run out of life. Anyways, I watched a video that you made about starting judo at 20. I'm 21 and started judo 4 months ago. Now I changed gym because the new one was more competitors and also a more specific preparation. I have a question. I'm doing BJJ since 19 years old. And before I did 3 years of MMA and also 2 years of rugby. So it's not new for me to compete or doing a competitor's training. Now I'm training 6 times a week, 2 times a day. In your opinion, is it too late for me to achieve goals like doing international competition or winning the nationals? I'm from Italy. Even if I'm a little too late, thank you for your time, man. So, okay, that's a really interesting question. Now, if somebody were just to ask me, I'm starting judo at 20, would I be able to make like make national, like win national or international competitions? Is that okay? Then I would say nothing is impossible, but it's highly unlikely, right? But it's a little bit different here with Rob because he does have a lot of experience and baggage. Now, to what extent, I'm not quite sure, but it sounds pretty solid. So, Rob, it's funny because I actually have a friend who has a very similar background as you. He's a little bit older, but basically he started at 24, 25, really, dabbling more in judo. And now it's been about 2, 3 years now. So he's either 26 or 27. And my coach, who was a 2-time Olympian, basically told him, hey, listen, you could win nationals. All you have to do is come in and train more regularly. But of course, he's not really interested in that, but he still does very well. But he actually, when he started doing judo, like when he started at 24, he already had a MMA background. He had about 3 fights in MMA. He played rugby as well. So already he had a competitive background and athletic background. And then after that, once he got to the club, right, about 2-3 years ago, I started training under our coach, Nick Tritton at Tritton Performance here in Montreal, Quebec. If you guys are ever there, shout out to the club because it's my club. You guys should really pass by. We're really good in judo and wrestling. Like that's our specialty. So under the right tutelage, yeah, he could easily win nationals. Here in Canada, but he's not interested. So that's that. And with that being said, okay, he's athletic, he's strong, and he has competition experience, right? So that's really important. So that's very similar to you, Rob. Whereas like you're younger, so it gives you even more time to practice and all that. So I definitely think it would actually be possible for you, to win nationals. But once again, there's like a little detail there that's kind of important. Like, how's the level in Italy on a national level, right? Because here in Canada, like we're good. No, actually, we're not that good. So it's kind of easier, in my opinion, from my understanding. Now, I don't know how it is in Italy, but I'm not sure where Italy ranks on the world stage. But if they rank like really high, like in the top 5 countries in judo, might be really hard, right? Because the more people you have practicing judo, the harder the competition is going to be. So here in Canada, definitely possible. So I'm just telling you the story about my friend who could easily go national and win the nationals if he wanted to. And I believe he could probably go international if he dedicated his whole entire focus to that goal. Okay. Now, let me just read the question. Okay. Another story. I have another friend who I also train with. So he was on the Quebec team, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he never really got to what do you call it, the national team, or he got really close or something. But then he got injured, or he was on the Quebec team and then national team, something like that, and then he got injured. He busted his knee, so then he took time off, and he focused on his career instead, studies, career, did some boxing in the meantime. And then when he came back about 2-3 years as well. And he's been training with us regularly. And this guy, right now, he's about 26, 27 as well. Recent competition, he smashed the living crap out of like an Olympian. And this guy was, he was like a provincial team. And he might have been on the national team. But yeah, like under the right tutelage of my coach, yeah, he just started smashing everybody. But this guy's a phenom as well, like very athletic, very strong, very explosive. But from what my coach told me was that they didn't handle them properly, the coaches. So there wasn't like really good enough guidance, so to speak, and that's why like he didn't go as far as he could have, And then he got injured, so there you go. But I mean, now he's just working a full-time job, alternating shifts. So this guy works like 1 week during the day, another week during like a night shift, and then after that, sometimes he works weekends, and he trains basically maybe 2 times a week at most in judo. But he does a lot of he's into training like a lot, so he does a lot of conditioning, lifts a lot of weights, and all natural. And this guy, wow, smashes the living crap out of people. And I think he won nationals. And at the international competition recently in Quebec, he also won. He didn't win, but he got on the podium. I think it was either silver or bronze or whatnot. And I'm sure he could have gotten gold, but I think there was some issues with the reffing, right? Because sometimes reffing, you don't get the best refs out there doing their job properly, and they kind of screw up, and it kind of sucks for the athlete. Okay, so that being said, so the first example of my friend who has a very similar background to you in MMA and in rugby, right? So, and he's done a little bit of BJJ as well. So, it's just to inspire you a little bit, to make you understand that, yeah, it's actually possible if you have the right background. Right? Like if you're starting fresh, like you never done anything in your life, and you're like, oh, I'm 21, I want, like, most likely not. It's not going to happen. But and then after that, my other friend who works a full-time job uh, was a high-level athlete when he was younger, but then got injured, then went to school, then took care of his career and all that. He's coming back, and right now he's just competing for fun, but he smashes everybody, man. He like, of course, he loses some matches here and there. That's why he's not first place, but sometimes that's because of bad calls, and sometimes, well, it is what it is, So let's get back to a couple of other points. So what I'm saying is, for you, like, let me just read this again quick here. Started judo at 20. Sorry. I changed because gym. Sorry, guys. I know I rambled. These videos are off the cuff. I'll get better and better at it, and I'll prepare them a little bit better. So you already have ground game, right? Because you've done BJJ since you were 19 years old. So that's 2 years of BJJ. 2 years of BJJ. It's pretty good, depending on how often you were training, and of course, natural ability, your attributes, and all that. But 2 years of BJJ, so that's like blue belt level, and if you were competitive blue belt, that's very good. And before that, 3 years of MMA. So I'm not sure if you competed in MMA or not, but if you competed in MMA, I mean, that's really solid as well, because MMA is actually a lot more intense. Once you do MMA, like you do an MMA fight, or like you do some real MMA sparring, like 3 rounds of I don't know, 3 minutes, or 3 rounds of 5 minutes, or 5 rounds of whatever, and you really went through like some serious training camps, man. Like after that, grappling is kind of easier. It's less scary, right? Because grappling, what are you really doing there? You're just like hugging each other and throwing each other. That's kind of it. You're not getting punched in the face or anything, or kicked in the head, kneed. And then 2 years of rugby. So now the thing with rugby players, they're very strong, very athletic. So if you competed in rugby on top of that, yeah, that's pretty. I think it's very good. What you're describing here is a very solid foundation in terms of as a competitor and as an athlete, right? So now. So this is assuming that you competed in these sports, that you did BJJ and you competed, you did MMA, you competed, or at least you did some serious training in MMA, some serious sparring sessions and rounds and all that, like going through a training camp for maybe yourself, or for to help a friend out. And then from there, 2 years of rugby. Rugby is a tough sport, man. It's a mad sport. I've never played it, but yeah, from what I've seen, from what my understanding, yeah, really, really solid there. So now you're training 6 times a week, 2 times a day. 6 times a week, okay, 2 times a day. That's very good, because you need the volume. You need the volume and all that. All right, to upgrade your skills as fast as possible. Right, and so I definitely don't think it's too late. Now, like I said, winning nationals, I think it's possible. Going international, here's the thing, like if you want to get on a team, that might be a little bit different. But here where I am, like, you don't actually need to go on a team to go to a national level competition. You just have to have participated in the provincial competition, and then after that you can participate in the nationals. And then after that, if you want to do international competition, well, here I know that I might be mistaken. So if some of you guys are listening, you could correct me. So, but you just have to sign up and show up, kind of thing. And then maybe for certain competitions, you need X amount of points. But I think for the points and all that, that has more to do with if you're actually on the team, and then you have to be good enough for them to continue basically sponsoring you, so to speak, right? Because if you're on the team, you're funded to a certain extent. Not really hardcore here in terms of funding for the athletes. But it depends on the country. And also, from my understanding, like if you're in Italy, so that's Europe. So in Europe, all the countries are pretty close by. So going international wouldn't actually be a problem if you don't really need to be on the national team. You could just show up to those competitions and compete, right? But I mean, really, no one's going to just show up like that. Like you have to listen to your coaches and all that. So what you did is actually very smart, that you changed clubs and you went to a club that's more competitive, right? And have the preparation that you want because you want to compete. That's very good. Now, so I would say to get to the national level, to win the nationals, okay, I'm assuming here that everything you're telling me, like in terms of your MMA experience, your rugby experience, and your BJJ experience, that's at a competitive level. Like you've competed in that. So if you competed in that, now all of that's going to, a lot of those things, those qualities, mm, those skills that you developed in competition are going to carry over to competing in judo. Now, for the national level, I think that just hard work and athleticism will get you there. You might be okay. Just with that hard work and athleticism, and that alone should, like, here anyway, I believe that it's very doable. Like my friend who works like a full-time job and who smashed like Olympic level athletes recently at an international competition, and only trains like 2 times a week. Like he trains hard. When he trains though, it's all out, and he's always conditioning, lifting weights, doing pull-ups, and like strength training exercises and all that. And then he does 2 times judo. Like just that alone, like that could really take you far, take you to the national level. Now, for the international, like doing international competitions is one thing, but performing well, so what do I mean by performing well? I would say performing well, like getting on the podium and all, right? And ranking, I don't know what's considered high in international competition, maybe top 10, top 5 or something like that. Top 10 is pretty, depends on the pool of athletes and all, but top 10 sounds to me pretty solid. I think that depends on a little bit more. There's going to be a little bit more things that have to go your way, right? So it's not just going to be hard work and athleticism. Now it's going to be fight IQ, right? So because honestly, guys, fighting is a thinking man's sport. You got to think, and the better your fight IQ and the game IQ that you have, like the better off you'll be. So you have to have that, and that comes from your coach, that comes from experience, that comes from time on the mat, that comes from competition itself. Also, injury mitigation. So you're gonna want to not get injured, because that's pretty much the bane of all athletes is injuries. So if you don't recover enough, or you train, you're under recovered, and you just train a little bit maybe too hard or whatnot, so you got to be careful with the injuries. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'll make another video on that, but that's that. Your team, I think your team is going to have to be conducive to to getting you there, because you're going to have great coaches, you're going to have great teammates, people who take care of you, not going to hurt you and all that. So that's going to be important as well. So that's why it's really good that you went to a club that's competitive, right? And then your training methodology, man. Like your training method has to be on point as well. So what I mean by that is that going too hard, right? Every single time you train, let's say you train 6 times a week, 2 times a day. Like if you're not structuring that in a way that's intelligent, okay, so that you mitigate injury, like it's not gonna be good, right? So obviously, if you have high level coaches, they're gonna be able to help you with that. If you have good training partners, they'll take care of you, so so that you don't get injured like all the time and accumulate a whole bunch of small injuries that might not serve you, basically. But yeah, that's for the international level. So international level, and being, like successful there, that's like 50-50, right? You'd have to dedicate yourself, because you do have a little bit of catching up to do. Because a lot of people, like judo is kind of like a young man sport. So that's the thing. If you start a bit later, but you do have like some good athletic and competitive background. So it's possible, but you do have to. There's things that you need to catch up on for sure, right? So you got to do a lot of volume. That's for international, but national, I think I think that with your background, I think you could do it, man. I really do. Like without seeing, this is assuming that you competed in all the other 3 sports that you talked about, right? And yeah, that's it. So I wish you all the best. I hope that was helpful. and keep me posted on what's going on. And from here on out, like message me on what do you call it in the comment section in one of my videos, and yeah, send me a message even on IG now that we've talked already, and we'll see where you're at, man. I look forward to seeing you progress in the sport. And if you have any questions, don't be shy. Like reach out to me, but do me a favor though, like reach out like on YouTube. Okay, I'll see the messages. Like I see them. Like that's how it is, right? Like if you send me a message, like any message that you send to me, I can see it. And especially right now, I'm not like huge. I only got like when it gets to a point where like I get like too many comments and too many questions that I can't keep up. That's one thing. But right now I'm still relatively small, so well, actually, I'm small. So I still got a good handle on that. So I can take the time to read the comments and the questions and all that, and then yeah, answer them. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'm gonna go walk my dog. Peace. Actually, wait. Let me see if you guys put any questions up. Oh, okay. Here's let me see. Okay, just a quick one before I leave. Hey, Ricardo, what's your thoughts of MMA for self-defense, or would it be better boxing off judo combo? Honestly, I like both. MMA is great for self-defense. Boxing is great for self-defense. Judo, I mean, it's good for self-defense, but it's going to depend on the individual, but you got to remember that if you do only judo, then you don't really have any striking. So if you don't have like a good grasp of striking, that could be not so good, because you could get punched in the face and knocked out. Like, okay, you know how to grapple, but you have to get a hold of the person. And also for self-defense, you might not want to clinch up with the guy. Maybe he has something in his hands, maybe he has a knife or whatever, so you want to be able to keep your distance. So then that gets a little bit dangerous, right? But MMA is definitely a very solid base. Boxing, amazing base. Judo too, that's going to help a lot. And yep, I'll make a video on self-defense soon, another one. I've made some before, but there was somebody in the community who left a really long, detailed comment in regards to self-defense. And I'd like to address that. So I'm going to make that in another video. And yep, let's see here. How about 16 years old? Well, listen, with judo, the earlier you start, the better it is, right? Like, honestly, like most of those guys that you see at the Olympics, they probably started at 5 years old, right? So just to give you an idea, and it's always about time, right? Like the longer you do something for, the better like you're going to get at it. So if you start at let's say somebody started at 5 and you started at 16, so that guy, when he's 16, he's going to have 11 years of judo in his body, compared to if you're 16. It's not impossible, but it's going to depend on your attributes as well, and the coaching and the training you have behind it. So when I say attributes, I basically mean your strength and your speed, which is genetics. It's genetics, guys. You can only get so strong. Like, it's going to depend on your genetics, and it's going to depend, and speed is God-given as well. That's genetics. So those two things, it's going to depend on that. Right? You can get to a certain level for sure, but at the highest level, everybody's it's self-selected. Like, the ones who make it are the ones who have these attributes. But then after that, to go even further, you have to have a lot of things working in your favor towards your goals, right? So like I mentioned, you're going to need to have develop your fight IQ, game IQ as well. Game meaning like sport IQ, like IQ for your sport, in preventing injury, your team, your training methodology, which will usually be given to you by your coach, right? Because like most athletes at that age, like, you're not thinking about that. You're just listening to your coaches. So I hope that made sense, guys. And that's it for this one. See you in the next one. Peace.